Greetings, Fiend and Fiendettes. It's time for yet another installment of Uberdemon's Movie Morgue. This particular episode is going to cover some recent DVD acquisitions as well as my experience at the March 2010 Hoarhound weekend here in Indianapolis. I'm going to start off with Pumpkinhead Ash to Ashes. This is the third in the series. I've been trying to find Volume 4, or the fourth movie, which both parts 3 and 4 were direct to TV, I think, for the Sci-Fi Channel. And actually, I've seen part 3, and part 3 is actually pretty decent for the third part of the series. It was cool that Doug Bradley and Lance Henriksen were both in this movie, and they both give outstanding performances. This is certainly a more dark return to Pumpkinhead, and it's a lot more like the first film. But part 3 is more like part 1, which is classic. I love the first Pumpkinhead. I love all the Pumpkinhead movies I've seen so far. And part 2 was good, but it was slightly different than part 1 in terms of, where the demon comes from and the storyline, obviously. And there's different characters in each story. But I happen to find this at Big Lots for $3. And this is a darn good movie to pick up for $3. I highly recommend, if you happen to see this at Big Lots for $3, pick it up. Even if you see it for like $10 at Best Buy somewhere, pick it up. It's that good. I happen to find this particular DVD set. Well, it's actually one DVD, 2 sides, 5 movies, at Target for under $5. And this actually has a lot of really cool old vampire movies on it, like Count Dracula and His Vampire Brides, Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, Fangs of the Living Dead, which was actually directed by Armando de Osorio, who directed the Blind Dead trilogy, the Blind Dead series, more than a trilogy. But very good vampire flick, Spanish vampire flick. Grave of the Vampire and Vampire Happening on the Other Side. Grave of the Vampire is pretty, the subject matter is pretty edgy for a film from 1972, back when things were starting to ramp up and the whole kind of the Grindhouse era really started to flare up. Vampire Happening is kind of the same, but it's more of a psychedelic, more comedic version of a vampire movie, and they're actually all pretty interesting movies. I mean, for $5, 5 pretty decent vampire movies from that are old school and don't have shiny vampires like Twilight. I recommend picking this up. It's definitely a good anti-Twilight fix of vampires. I happened to pick this up at Walmart for about $13-14, and I did double dip on one movie because I already had the thing, but it's an amazing movie. It's worth double dipping on. But for 4 movies, John Carpenter movies, especially these 4 movies, definitely worth the price. If you see this at Walmart, definitely pick it up. Along with The Thing, this movie has Prince of Darkness. Awesome, one of the best devil movies to come from the 70s and the 80s. But it's really great. It kind of features demonic zombies. Definitely the son of Satan, which is basically a rotting bag of skin walking around after the liquid funnels into the body. But I don't want to give away too much. Definitely a great movie. The end will just leave your jaw agape, and it's one of those great movies that John Carpenter's done. Also, the science fiction romp They Live, which features the Roddy Piper and features the famous line, "I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, I'm all out of gum." Or actually, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum, which Duke Nukem stole. It's awesome in both places, though. That's one of my favorite lines ever. And also in this set is Village of the Damned, which is basically a movie about aliens and possessed children. All these movies are great. Definitely worth picking up for the low price of under $20 at your local Walmart. And those of you who watch regularly know I'm a huge fan of Media Blasters, their Shriek Show label, their Tokyo Shock label, and all their other subsidiary labels under the Media Blasters umbrella. And I happened to pick up Frank Henenlotter's newest film, Bad Biology, which this is really more of a collab between Henenlotter and kind of his prodigy rap star R.A. the Rugged Man, which you can see in the Basket Case documentary. You can also see R.A. the Rugged Man in Damnation, which is Damnation's also part of Late Fee, so if you have either of those, you've had some exposure to R.A. the Rugged Man. Some of the bonus features on this are actually some of his music videos. This movie is insane. I thought I'd seen every kind of rude, crude, lewd, crazy kind of movie to ever exist. This takes those kinds of movies and amps it up a whole nother level. I mean, this movie made me blush, and that's a hard feat to do. You're talking about a woman that has several clitorises and usually ends up killing the person she's having sex with. A gigantic tentacle dick that ends up going on a rampage, and rapid accelerated birth. I could go on and on about this movie. This movie is completely messed up. Of course, Gabe Bartolos gave great special effects again. If you're a fan of Henenlotter, definitely worth picking this one up and checking it out. I happen to find this at Fry's, and that's been the only place I've seen it here in town. So if you got a Fry's nearby, or you know someplace that carries crazy, crazy movies, pick this up and check it out if you're a fan of Frank Henenlotter. Also, on that trip to Fry's, I picked up a Media Blasters Eurotrash 3-pack, which contains Bad Inclination, Faceless, and The Witchery. And Bad Inclination is kind of a neo-giallo film. I haven't really watched it. I kind of thumbed through it real quick just to see what it was all about. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. I need to actually sit down and finish watching it when I have some time. Also is in this pack is Faceless, which was kind of the whole reason why I bought the pack, because I'd heard so much about the film and I heard it was crazy. It's a very interesting film in regards of what it's about face transplanting, and there's one scene in particular where face transplant goes bad, and they dispose of the body with a chainsaw cutting through the head, and that scene is pretty cool, pretty disturbing, definitely worth checking out. And the last movie in this pack is The Witchery, really, really bad, low-budget 80s horror film, which actually features David Hasselhoff and Linda Blair. And, of course, it's a possession movie, it's a witch movie, of course, because Linda Blair's in it. She does a lot of those kind of movies. It's all started back with The Exorcist. The film actually has some cool special effects and some cool scenes, but it's kind of like, glimmers of hope through what I'm going to call fairly unwatchable movie. I mean, the acting's horrible, again, but I mean, definitely worth checking out at least once. And as I mentioned before, I went to the Hoarhound weekend, the end of March, and here in 2010 in Indianapolis, and it was crazy. Even on Friday, Clive Barker and George Romero were there, along with a whole ton of old TV horror hosts. I really wanted to get Barker and George Romero's autographs, but as far as standing in the lines, I'd rather just circle around the merch booths, which is what I did, and buy a bunch of stuff. If George or Clive ever comes back again, I'll definitely go get their autograph, just to focus on one of them instead of trying to get both. But I wish I could have gotten the autographs, but I really still had a good time with what I did and hanging out with my wife. One thing they've done this year is they split it up into several sections. Like some of the signing booths were in various places. Elvira was also attending for the vampire tribute with all the other horror hosts. She had a special table where they were quartering off people for lines. George Romero started lining up very early, and there was a Day of the Dead panel. He was Clive and George didn't sign for very long. They only signed for about 2 hours for most of the days, from what I heard. But they did separate, because they used to have the mask and all the vendors in one room. This time they split off into a mask room and the main vending hall. And in the mask room, I bought this lovely mask, running skeleton head face with a big gnarly head wound. Thought that was pretty cool. And from Twisted Toy Box, I bought this cool zombie face mask, and I thought it was pretty cool. It's pretty convincing when you put it on. It'd be even more convincing with a little bit of makeup, and I might use this later. I'm still trying to decide on exactly what I do, but I like to wear it around the house and freak people out. It's a lot of fun.